Borrowing marketing strategies from influencers is not what your business needs to attract the right buyers.
Welcome to the Life Stages Development Podcast, where host and owner of Life Stages Development, Steve Schamberger, brings you stories, experiences, and advice in business development and marketing. Now here's Steve with today's episode.
The people shaping your marketing understand platforms really well, but they don't always understand positioning or buyers. Let me explain. Your marketing might look active, your posts are consistent, and your brand feels visible. But if you're using influencer trends as content for your business, you're not communicating who you are and what you do clearly. One shift we've seen over the last few years is more established companies borrowing marketing behaviors from influencer culture. This is mostly because they don't know what to post. Teams look at what performs online and assume the format must be strategy. So you start seeing strong, trust-built businesses experimenting with rapid trends. And at first it feels like the right step because something is better than nothing, right? In this case, wrong. Posting content like this actually starts to shift your brand's voice. You start sounding less like a company and more like a content account. One of the clearest patterns that we're seeing right now is that more businesses are handing marketing to people who are fluent in trends, but not fluent in business. They understand platforms, formats, and what performs online, but they do not always understand positioning, buyers, or how trust is actually built. So the marketing becomes trend aware, but identity light. The content looks current, but it says very little about the company, very little about who you help, how you solve problems, or why you're trusted in the first place. Your channels stay active, but you're not talking about who you are. Activity does not automatically translate into customers. A lot of companies get misled here because the visible metrics suggest progress. Posts are consistent, engagement looks fine, the marketing team feels busy, but it's not turning into real business. Sales teams still find themselves re-explaining the fundamentals to potential clients when your marketing should be out in front of that. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. That trust usually forms through repeated exposure to how a company thinks and how it solves problems over time. That repetition builds familiarity, and familiarity builds confidence. Companies that communicate clearly what they do and how they think tend to shorten trust cycles because they're understood earlier. The strongest brands treat content less like performance and more like explanation. They use it to show how they approach decisions, how they solve real problems, and what makes them different. And over time, buyers show up ready to move forward. When marketing leans too far into trends, the risk is that it makes it harder for the right buyers to take you seriously. You might still get attention, but you lose one of the most valuable things content can build, which is trust. This is why the distinction matters more than most teams expect. Influencer style marketing can generate motion and it can generate visibility, but visibility alone does not create customers. Customers come from understanding how you think and seeing consistency over time. When someone knows how you operate, likes what you do, and trusts your consistency, it becomes less about persuasion and more about fit. If there's a simple takeaway, it's this. Established companies don't need more marketing. They need purpose-driven marketing, the kind that helps the right people understand who they are, how they think, and why they're trusted. When people really understand what you do and why it matters, growth doesn't feel like such a grind. Remember, great businesses are not built by accident. We share ideas like this regularly for leadership teams trying to clarify their brand, strengthen trust with the market, and make growth more predictable. If this conversation was helpful for you and you're thinking through similar challenges inside your business, you can learn more about what we do at lifestagesdevelopment.com. Also, feel free to subscribe so you don't miss any future conversations.
Thank you for listening to the Life Stages Development Podcast. Follow us on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Instagram. And check out our website, lifestagesdevelopment.com, for ways to work together.